right, hey everybody, welcome. This is just for the VIP members, by the way. I'm not posting this publicly, not yet anyway. I'm going to develop a full course. Well, not really a course, but just teaching people how to do things briefly. But I think you're really going to like this. I'm going to show you a free indicator that you see me post, like a what do you call it, like a money flow type indicator called Market Cipher. I've got one that's exactly like it, but it's free to use, and I'm going to show you that here in just a second. So let's look at just a bear chart here. This is just a random one that I have here that I've been watching for Zora. And y'all seen me do these support resistance lines before, which is kind of interesting right now. That one's rejecting off of it currently. But all you're doing is just going left to right and finding areas like on a high time frame chart where at least 2 or 3 candle bodies and wicks meet. I'd prefer to have this wick. Well, actually that wick did hit it right there just recently. But you just go left to right. Actually, I shouldn't have done that one first, but I should have done this one. And you can see you got 2 or 3 connecting there, and then you go ahead and do your bottom, or really this would be the bottom down here, but you probably won't need it because I think that bottom's likely not going to come into play anymore. But anyway, that's not really what I wanted to show you. We take that out. I want to talk about ranges and how, I'm just going to draw a couple things here. I mean, I think y'all could really get some something useful out of this. Just let me draw this real quick. So this is what an uptrend typically looks like here, although there are times when it looks more like something like maybe this, and then it pushes higher. Oops. So, and I'm going to show you these on a chart here in just a second, actually multiple charts. So what happens is your price action bounces between this, and you can actually make a lot of money off these bounces. And it turns around here somewhere and starts going down. And then eventually it starts making a more vertical move or something. But usually it will hit the top and bottom at some point. It may come up short like this at some point as well, where it doesn't go all the way to the line. But this is what you want to watch for in a in a chart. So I'm going to show you here Zora before it pumped. I mean, one of the easiest things you can possibly do is just draw a trend line here, and you can test it. If you prefer to connect your candles with your wicks with your candle bodies, that's fine, but just stay consistent. I would say it's more like this. You're just trying to connect as many of these as you can. There's a wick right there connecting, there's a candle body, wick, wick, wick there, and it turns out that this wick bounced right off of it when it rejected and came all the way back down. So it pushed up here and then it fell all the way back down and then it pumped really hard. So not only do you have that, but you've got a range here that's working on the bottom as well. So that's kind of what I was talking about just then, where you can play this range. And if we go down to a lower time frame, you might even see one back here. I mean, there really is one here, like we went really low. There's one there as well. And you could have just done like a trend line. And as soon as it broke out, typically it'll break out and then come back down to retest it. It's usually not going to just take off. And there you go, right there. There's another retest. So this happens a lot. So, you could, maybe you missed all of this right here. You could wait and be patient. And when it comes back down here and touches this line, then go ahead and buy it. And it turns out when this one pumped, it came, like we were talking about, it came right back and touched that line. So, this is just one example here. But here's what I wanted to show you on that indicator. And let me close it actually, and I'll bring it up. I had actually forgot to tell you about this one. It's called Fu Manchu. So it's Fu Manchu Cipher B plus divergences. And I'm going to show you exactly how to use this. Number one, notice this red and green bar down here. It's like a dynamic bar that tells you when it's a good time to be in the trade and when it's a good time to be out of it. So when it's red, of course, you shouldn't be in the trade yet, but we can see this thing's already pumped, right? So that tells you that the 3-hour chart is probably a little bit too late to get into something like this, because this token doesn't have much history. Now, if you go to something like, and I'll show you here on SNX here in a minute, 3 hour would have gotten you in early, most likely. But if we go down to like, I don't know, 30 minutes maybe even 15. Yeah, there we go right there. So notice how, and I'm going to show you how to use the rest of it here in a second, but notice how this turned red to green there. That would have been your signal to jump in after this retest here. So you were waiting on it to retest that line, you're in, and now you just hold it until it gives you this red signal right here. And then you get out and you miss this downtrend right here. You could have gotten back in temporarily, but it would have been, too early, looks like. So now what you're waiting on is another, you want to see if it's going to give you another signal. So if we go back to the daily chart, well, actually on this one's too new, so we got to go to the 3 hour. So one thing you want to watch for, just like these range lines that I drew here, you can actually draw them down here as well. Notice how these red dots are kind of lining up right there. So this is your current trajectory. And this one has it as well. It's not perfect, but you can see how the green dots are also trending up. So, this one could have a bigger move left in it. You would have to see this turn green for sure. And it is trending that way. I mean, you got bullish divergence here, no doubt. And the reason why is because if you go back a little bit, look how this long downtrend stayed intact the whole way. Most of your green dots were trending down. Most of your red dots were trending down at the same time. So this was your range, and it stayed in the red. The money flow stayed in the red the whole way. So that kept you out of the trade to where you weren't taking a bad trade. And then you started getting some bullish divergences right there. So technically you could actually play this on a higher time frame, but you'd have to really be paying attention. And when I say divergence, I mean the red money flow here created a higher low right there. So if you see that, and you're seeing, here, let me drag this out and just get rid of the bottom range here. So same way up here, if this breaks above, if this down here breaks above this line, then that tells you, actually, I'll be kind of conservative here. If it breaks above right here, that's a change in structure. That means that it looks like lower highs are starting to be made, and that's what you have right here as well. So there's your divergence. So you had a pretty much an equal low there, maybe a little bit. This was kind of a signal, a warning that, hey, your price could be turning around. So there's a little bit of a bullish divergence there, and there's definitely one there. So price coming down while momentum is going up, that's a good sign. And even a double bottom here is good in this case. That's just as good as a bullish divergence in this case, because you had already broken out right there. But that was after the move, so sometimes you get in late. But what you're looking for now is you would want to see this continue up to know that it was going to keep going. If you got a lower high right here, then it probably means that this thing needs to consolidate for just a little bit. And remember, these make W's. I talk about it all the time. Here's a big W right there. And then right after that, it made an M. See that? So a big W, and then a big M. So this happens over and over in the smallest of time frames, in the largest of time frames. It just keeps happening over and over. So the question right now is, did this thing, number one, it tightened up really tight, right? If you see something like that, then you know that a big move is coming. But the question is it going to do this and come back and retest that before another move? And then it does a W, something like that. It's very possible. And the reason why that is possible to make a move like that is this is your resistance currently right here. So if you saw this creating a lower high, you would go, okay, my resistance is probably somewhere in here. So if this thing does come down here, I'm going to consider taking a long right there because I know that's good support, because that's where it first broke out and retested. And then what I'm going to do is, my plan at least, is to hold until it gets close to that resistance. You could consider taking profit here, like say if this did play out and then you created a higher low on your W right here, which is a pretty normal pattern to work out or to happen. What you would do is you could either take profit here, as things bounce and come up, take profit there, or 50% of your profit, get your initials back, or you could take some profit right there. You could call this another resistance area right there. So, if you wanted to be safe, that would be a good place. Or do you a fib and say, okay, when this hits and that is actually right there, when this hits the golden pocket right there, maybe I'm going to take some initials out or something. So pretty interesting idea there. Let's see if it works out. Okay, so let's just go to SNX. I'm going to show you another. So this is kind of like a downtrending breakout, or it's consolidation down, and then it breaks out of that, just like XRP or any of those other ones that trend for a long time, and then once they break out of there, they pump really hard. Same thing for SNX here. It looked like a really big move today, and it was. We actually talked about it very early. Smart money was getting into it way back here. They were accumulating because they knew, if I would have been looking at this and paying more attention to it, I would have known this thing was ranging between these two areas. And I would have said, hey guys, this might be a good place to take along, because if it comes back up, you can just sell it right there. So the same way, the same way that you get like a sideways consolidation like this, it's basically the same idea. This is going down, yeah, it's trending down overall, but it's the same thing as this. This is just sideways. So you sell up here, you buy here, sell here, buy here. You can make money on any of these moves. But once this thing breaks out of here, then it could be ready for a much bigger move. So this is touch it 3 times. Usually 3 times is enough. But now you're just waiting to see, is this thing gonna maybe just retrace a little bit, come back on top, take off? And that's basically what we saw back here for Zora, right? It had to break out. And notice, while we're talking about it, notice here that, let's see, we had 1, 2, 3 touches, and then it rejected one more time. Here, let me make sure on a higher time frame. I want to make sure I'm saying this right. What we got? 1, 2, 3, yeah. So on the third touch, the third macro touch, it actually just came down a little bit, like a little 50% or 30% retracement, and then it popped over. So I think that SNX is one to watch for this. This wasn't a real breakout today. This is still under resistance on the downtrend. So watch for this little dip, and then maybe jump in once it retests this line. This is a good trade idea, but you want to see that breakout first, and then you can make some good money off of it once it retests. This is Zero Bro. This is the one that just broke out as well. This actually did make a true breakout. So kind of, when you're drawing your trend lines, kind of look at it a couple times first, a couple different ways. So number one, you can take it from your candle body. I don't know if I like that one so much. Okay, so maybe go from our wick right here. Yeah, I like that better. Let's see, it's not perfect, but it's close. Okay, see, I got kind of close to that other wick, but mostly I'm looking down here as well. I have a candle body. I have multiple candles hitting it right here, even though the wicks are going through, kind of like a fake out. And then it broke out, it retested. Now, unfortunately, this one was a part of, had this not happened yesterday, this one probably would have just went ahead and taken off. But it happened anyway, right? I mean, even though it dipped, it pumped out of that. So this is kind of the same idea as back here with Zora. It has actually made a true breakout. I think that this was the retest right here, so it may not have another retest. I don't know. But if you go to a lower time frame and just kind of look for your W's and your M's to try to see what you can find, I don't know if there's going to be enough information. Yeah, well, yeah, there might be. I don't know if this one keeps going immediately or not, but it's clear that you got an M there, and you could be forming a W here where it breaks out and goes back here to the top. So this could be a leverage trade idea. What you'd want to watch for, you probably want it to get back above, I don't know, either here or here. Anyway, it needs to establish more price action above these 2 lines, I believe, because there is currently resistance there. But, this trend, you could put a little trend line here and just see if it holds that trend line, starts climbing up. Last thing you want, though, is for it to break down and come all the way back down on you. So just be careful with plays like that. So Yeah, we could look at the, so here's market cipher on the top. This is a paid indicator. And here's Fu Manchu on the bottom. I mean, they look identical, right? So just be aware that the money flow portion right here, the green and the red, it isn't quite as thick, but they both, I guess market cipher kind of gave a red signal there sooner, but typically they're right in line. I mean, look at that. It's almost perfect. Yeah, I mean, they're pretty close. So I like the little red green bar they have down here. It's easier to see. And market cipher may actually have something like that. I'm not sure. Oh, okay, it does have one. Okay, so never mind. So you can see here it actually gave you a better signal in that case. It's close though. I mean, it's close enough that not having to pay whatever it is, $500 for this thing and getting this one for free called Fu Manchu is worth it if you like to see money flow. And you can turn stuff off if you just want to see money flow. Like sometimes you'll see me do it like this where I turn everything off. Well, I turned off money flow. You can even take those lines off if you want, but that's much cleaner as well. But I kind of like having the dots and everything because you can plot on them. So here's a plot that you can do. That's bearish divergence right there. Price going up, momentum coming down. You're in the red. Probably wouldn't be a good time to take a long right there. But again, if you would have went to the daily and had already plotted this out and looked at it, here's your inverted head and shoulders actually. Shoulder, head, inverted, or your other shoulder to invert. And yeah, it did have a dip here because everything did. But had this not happened, then this thing would have just pumped out of there. And if you went down to something like the daily, I mean the 3 hour on this one, yeah, it's seeing a lot of rejection right there currently. And this created a lower low right there. So there's a chance this one could come down a little bit more still. But you have to go to very low time frames to really get the full picture. Like this is showing that it's moving up a little bit and going back to green. So, this is probably something I should have told you to begin with. But if you're a new trader, you probably want to stick to looking at the weekly first. Look at your weekly, whatever indicator you use, an RSI, whatever. Then jump down to daily and get all your information, draw your lines, and then jump down to 3 hour. I wouldn't go lower than 3 hour if you were a new trader. And if you're experienced and you've done this for a while, then if you want to leverage trade, then you probably want to start with 3 hour. And then like right there, that's kind of creeping up into green. It's not quite there yet. It's actually dipping right now. So if we see this, we're seeing bullish divergence here and we're getting higher highs here. So technically this is trending up for us. So that's a good look for us. We want to see that continue, but that's really the result of this moving up. So then we want to jump down to the 1 hour. We want to make sure things are still intact. A little bit of weakness there, lower low, but that was before the pump. And now we're going to jump down to something like 15 minutes. And eventually we can get down to like 5 minutes. But this is only if you're a leverage trader and somebody that's very experienced and doesn't mind taking the risk. So currently you're trending down. However, if this continues right here, and you just get a little bit of a dip there and it gives you a green dot, then that probably means it's ready to go again. And I think that's likely what's going to happen. If we were to look at like a fib here and say that it was coming back down to here, maybe if it was really strong, it would stop here at the 382 or the 0.5. But let's just say it starts just before the 0.5 there and takes off again. We still have to watch this because there is a chance that it could do something like this as well, where it just creates a lower high and then goes back down to here and then it's ready to go. So we always have to be watching if we're going to do leverage trading. But of course, you can also use Engineering Robo AI. It's very important. I mean, look how the fibs lined up perfectly with these lines here. Well, most of them. But you can use your buy signals along with your TA that you're doing here and your breakouts. There's a lot of different things you can do. You just got to find the strategy that works best for you. Okay, is there anything else I wanted to show you this time? No, this video is mostly about ranging finding these trades that are bouncing between lines or trending in a certain direction, using money flow, using momentum down here in this Fu Manchu free indicator to determine what direction is telling you. But just remember, the higher time frames are going to be laggy. They're going to lag. So by the time you actually get into the green here, you can see the move's already happened. So what you need to do is start at the weekly, draw your lines, go to the daily. Here was a downtrend right here, but this was coming up here to meet it, kind of like a triangle pattern. And then we know when the triangle pattern breaks out to the upside, then that's time to take a long. If it breaks to the downside, you take a short. So we had a breakout, and you could have actually used this and said, okay, when this blue thing breaks out and gets above that one, then I'm going to take that long. And had that dip not happened right there, that would have worked out really well for you. Probably, 50% move or more. But it would be great, right, to jump into this, before it breaks out. So if you see something like this playing out, where your green dots are coming up while your red dots are coming down, then just jump down to your 3 hour. And then we'll just see what it looked like back there. Whoops. Oh, we can actually make this big. So downtrend was intact right there, and then it broke out of it. So just consider this momentum as a breakout. As soon as this red dot happened there, you would have just waited until the next green dot happened here. I think that would have worked out. Let's see. Yeah. So once the next green dot happened, if it was higher than these, indicating a higher low, then you could have taken a long. Or if it was equal, it's pretty much equal with these right here. So it's kind of like a double or triple bottom. This one was a little bit spooky here. Yeah, these looked really good, higher lows. Then this one faked out right before the move. And then you got another green dot right there. And if you miss the move, you could actually wait for one more green dot below the midline here, and you would have made a little bit on that move. But then, your green dots started going down again, and now they're going up again. So, hopefully this one just comes down a little bit and it's ready to go one more time. You want these things to be volatile. That's what you're looking for. But you want to try to get in before the move, of course. Okay. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense to you. And if not, let me know. Y'all can ask me a question in the comments below or in the Discord. And I'm going to keep trying to make these, informative, things I've come over, all the years of experience that I've been trading, things that might help you to start seeing these things in the chart so you can get in early on these plays. All right, I think the pump's still coming. Everything still looks good. We're past the dip. So looking forward to it with y'all and appreciate y'all.